Welcome to Scream Therapy. I'm your host, Jason Schreurs. In October of 2018, I found myself in the hospital, sitting across from a psychiatrist who was telling me I had bipolar. I was sent home with a bunch of medication and laid on the couch for a week. I had my iTunes library on shuffle, trying to shake the hornet's nest from my head. Ever since I was a kid, I've been using loud music as a form of therapy. Punk rock and mental health have always been connected. This podcast looks at that connection through the lens of different guests. This is Scream Therapy. In a fortunate turn of events, Chad Price ended up in his favorite band, All, at the age of 21. It wasn't long before he was touring the world. Chad had been drinking hard through his teens and came into the band as a functioning alcoholic. Being in a traveling punk group only made his drinking worse. Later, he formed a country band with his friends. His drinking had become so bad, he didn't care about the music anymore, just the next party. Since getting clean more than a decade ago, Chad often reflects on the years he wasted, how alcohol fueled his anxiety and depression. A stronger, clearer songwriter than he's ever been, Chad's Peace Coalition is the culmination of a tough life. With sobriety comes songs of purity and hope.
How much it hurts to be alone when you're alone. Roses for rose. I killed the sun but gave you the moon. This isolation is killing you.
My name's Chad Price. Born and raised in Kansas City, Missouri. I got into punk rock as a kid. Basically grew up as like a metal kid, but all my friends were kind of coming around, bringing like Dead Kennedys records. It's like, check out this. Some of my friends just kind of got me interested in that world. Strangely enough, one of my favorite bands became this band called All. When I was 21 years old, ended up joining my favorite band in a bizarre set of strange consequences going on. So I was 21 and joined a fully functioning band. I was already like pretty deep in alcoholism, even at that point. So 21, immediately join a band, immediately go on tour. So I'm just this kid that's basically never even left Missouri. And now I'm traveling the world, being in bars every night, playing punk rock shows. It's a whirlwind at all times. For someone with a addictive personality, alcoholism, any kind of drug habit, that's the worst place you could possibly be.
So a lot of people start using substance when they're young and when they're teens, experimenting.
Mm-hmm.
Drinking is probably the most common.
Mm-hmm.
There's other things too.
Sure.
And a lot of teens end up dropping that or going into casual drinking a beer, watch the hockey game kind of habits. But it sounds like for you, that didn't stop. And also there was that kind of pivot into being in a band and being on the road. What did that look like from being, a teen who first started experimenting into that sort of full-fledged alcohol use that you talked about?
We're kids. Kansas City, Missouri. It's a lot like every other city. There's just nothing to do ever, right? Just like every city. Doesn't matter where you live. It's like, there's nothing to do. What are we going to do? Drink. Okay. You know, it was also in my family. And I was warned, I have an older brother and sister and a dad who are all alcoholics. I've never even seen my dad drinking. He had quit when I was a baby. Sometimes in your genes. My friends do their thing. We all do their thing. And then, they can step away from it. And then joining a band and like being thrown into the mix of that, just like chaos. It's just everywhere. It's all around you. It's impossible to get away from. And I didn't want to, at that time, I was a kid. I didn't want to get away from it. I was fully excited about this world.
Is there distinction in your mind between punk rock and its acceptance, finding identity and finding empowerment within that scene, and just the partying, like that as being two different things, or it all kind of blended together?
I think it all kind of blends together. I grew up in the metal world. My favorite bands, it's just all glorified. So being, 13, 14 years old, basically my heroes, David Lee Roth back then, kind of still is. Being a 14-year-old kid, just worshiping David Lee Roth. This dude that's just every night he's just got a fifth of whiskey on stage. I mean, it's just glorified. Whether they do it or not, we see it and we think that's the way you do it. So, I mean, I grew up knowing that I wanted to be a musician and that's what musicians did. That was just all part of it. So when I joined All and we just started touring, that's what I did. It absolutely was part of it. It's all together. The music, the fun, the drugs, the party. That was my life for many, many years.
Tell me the story about getting into All.
So I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. I had a friend there that actually booked punk rock gigs. So All moved from Los Angeles to Missouri because Bill's dad owned a couple of houses in a small town called Brookfield that was, an hour and a half, 2 hours outside of Kansas City. So he flew to Kansas City to go check these houses out, and he called my buddy to pick him up, drive him around wherever he needed to go. My buddy Ollie knew that I was the world's biggest All fan, so he invited me along. I was like 18 or 19, I guess. I kind of became friends with Bill, and then eventually when the band moved out there, I met everybody. And then when Scott, the singer before me, quit, I just got a call if I wanted to try out. Of course I did. It was my favorite band in the world. I mean, it was a dream come true, right? I tried out and I got the job. Yeah, I was like 21 when I joined, just moved out from Kansas City to Brookfield, a couple hours away. And then like a year later, we all moved to Colorado.
Did your drinking, you mentioned it kind of escalated when being on tour. Did it become a problem with being in the band?
I was definitely a functioning alcoholic. Performance-wise, who the hell knows? Those punk rock shows are just total chaos, usually, especially back then. I don't know if it affected my performance, but I was always there. I didn't miss shows. I might be puking on the side of the stage before I go on. And I mean, I was there. If I had to drive myself, it would have been a problem.
And after you left All, you started your own band with some buddies. What was that like?
All moved out to Fort Collins, Colorado. It was like a year after I joined the band. I was like 22 or so. So new town, like didn't know anybody. And all the guys in the band, they didn't really do what I did. They were like 8 years older than I am. Their party days, they had kind of already passed it a little bit. So I was just this kid. So I didn't have any friends. I just would go out to the bars by myself. That's all I did every single day, every night until we went on tour. And then we'd get back home and I'd just go out by myself. And it was ugly. At some point, All stopped touring quite as much. Started another band called Drag the River, my friend John Snodgrass. And we were just a country band, just playing acoustic guitars. And obviously, we know what goes hand in hand with that.
My mind doesn't work so well these days. I drink all my waking hours away. I sit here long enough, maybe I'll think of something that'll make you stay. Something tells me not to think at all. Sit in darkness staring at the wall.
And it was all about partying. We would go on tour. Everybody shows up to basically party with the band. They know what's going to happen when they get there. Everybody's going to rage. It's going to be a party. And it was just out of control. Ugly, ugly. All of us. Some people could function a little better, but I didn't care. I was just out there just to, I was like so deep in alcoholism at that point that I didn't care. It was no longer even about the music. I didn't even care about the music part of it anymore.
Yeah, and it sounds like music's such an important part of your life. How does that feel looking back on that and realizing that, you kind of left that to the side and focused more on unhealthy avenues?
I hate it. There are things in your life you look back on and you're just like, things would have been so much different. Now, just looking back, music is everything. It is everything. I listen to music all day long. I write music all day long. Music is therapy, especially if you write it. It's basically journaling in a way. It was just so much time just wasted, totally wasted. No thought put into bettering ourselves musically. I don't even know what the other guys had going through their minds, but mine was whatever. Let's just get some songs, throw them out there, just so we can get on the road because that's what we're here for. That's what I'm here for. Now you're in your late 40s or however long it takes you to get there. Now I look back and it's like, man, like I could be a much better musician now. I could be a much better guitar player, much better singer. I could be a much better writer, if not for that 20 years of my life that I just flushed down the toilet. And most of it I don't even remember.
Yeah.
And it kind of breaks my heart just thinking about how differently life could have and would have been.
Yeah, I hear that and it sounds awful and regretful. But I also see it as being maybe a bit different from an outside perspective is what would happen if you didn't have the music all those years? Obviously, that music meant a lot to you and it was keeping you afloat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a good point. I'd probably be dead. And really, I can't believe I'm not anyway, looking back. But then on the other hand, you have to look at it another way. Maybe I would have got stuck at some job. Maybe that would have turned me around in some way. But you make your choices in life. I definitely wouldn't be here if not for music. We wouldn't be talking.
There's that whole cliche of hitting rock bottom, going to your lowest point, and having this grand realization that you need to change. Do you have that kind of a moment in your life?
I had it a couple times. Yes. I had gotten some DUIs, huge amounts of money. I was probably 60 pounds overweight, fighting with my wife nonstop. It's like we don't fight. We're both very chill people. We do not fight ever. When you introduce alcohol, then it's every day. And obviously, just waking up every day, you seriously feel like you're about to die every single day. You somehow power through all that. But I got to a point, it wasn't like today's the day. It was like just build up, build up, build up, fighting with my wife, feeling like I'm about to die. The depression and anxiety on top of the alcoholism, which alcoholism just breeds depression and anxiety. Got to the point I finally like, okay, I'm gonna stop. Sure. Make it month, 2 months, get back into it slowly. Did that a few times. I think I had just finally decided, like, Drag the River went on like, we opened up this big tour for Social Distortion.
It's a punk rock love song called Another State of Mind.
So we were out for a couple months. And then I think right before that tour, I just decided this is going to be my final fling, going out big time. And when I get back from this, I'm done. And that is kind of what happened. That is what happened. We went on that tour. It was like a drunken disaster. We got there, we played great every night because we played early. Afterwards, it was just insane. And driving home from that tour from California to Colorado, stopped at a hotel, me and another guy in the band. We drank beers in the hot tub, and then that was the last time I touched booze. And earlier on, when I had tried to quit, I did go through AA and some different forms of dealing with it. With DUIs, you also have to go through like a lot of alcohol training classes. I think I was finally at a point to where like I didn't even need it. It was just like, no, it's time. And like it was time. And I just stopped. When I got home, I locked myself in my house for however long, couple months. Just didn't want to see anybody. Definitely could not be around alcohol, around bars. And I got out and started introducing myself to these situations. And then going on tour after that for the first time was very difficult for a couple trips. But I just remember every time there's an urge, I see an urge to do something. I just remember how things were. I remember how I felt every day. I remember how miserable life was.
You mentioned the depression and anxiety, and a lot of hospitals are linking substance use and mental health, in the same departments.
Yeah.
Is that something that you were thinking about earlier or came to realize later after you got clean?
Came to realize later. You don't see that when you're in it. I mean, especially when your brain was just clouded every day. 20 years of not thinking straight properly. I still have issues. We all have issues we deal with daily, anxiety, depression, especially in this state of the world. I did not even realize that I felt that way back then until I got clear enough to really understand what those feelings were.
Well, and a lot of things too, using can mask the mental health issues,
Sure.
a coping mechanism. And so maybe there's depression there and anxiety there, but if it's being clouded or covered up by the alcohol, it's not top of mind.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It just turns into an ugly mess. Just put all that on top of each other. You don't know what's what. You just try to get through it. Whatever it is, you just try to get through it with whatever you have on hand.
How did the punk scene accept you after coming clean and not being the same person
Hmm.
for the better?
Yeah.
How did people accept you when you went back on the road or went back to start seeing shows and playing shows?
I guess, okay. It kind of changes your relationship with most of the people that you hang out with on the road. It's a completely different relationship. You were drinking buddies, and now it's just here's some guy that apparently I have partied with 20 times, and we're best friends, but I don't know his name.
Hmm.
I mean, people are basically cool. You're always going to run into, no, do a shot with me. But basically, people are very cool, especially in like the punk rock community. I mean, a lot of us have the same issues, and it's more of a close-knit community that I feel It's even getting better. It gets better all the time. Like people are more aware of their feelings today than they've probably ever been. For the most part, it's totally fine. You just have to adjust to like a different way of relating to people.
What would it have been like, do you think, if you had quit drinking and being part of the punk scene when you were 19?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't even know if I would have been in the scene if I wasn't drinking. I mean, I was so shy. I was scared of everything. Man, I must have been very sheltered as a kid, maybe, I guess. I mean, I was terrified to talk to people growing up. And then, once I got into my 20s, I didn't have to do anything. I basically didn't know how to run my life because I never really had to. And then I joined all, and then I was just, jump in the van, we're going on tour. Here we go. It's like I never had to do anything. I never had to talk to people. I never really learned how to communicate with people.
Unless you're screaming at them into a microphone.
Yeah. Certainly, part of the reason that I drank so much was to be able to function in society. And now you have to do this. You have to go out in front of people. You have to talk to people. So that was certainly, I mean, part of the reason I drank so much is just to be a little more comfortable in situations.
So today you're still into music, probably more than ever in some ways. What is it like now, playing music, writing music when you're in recovery, you're clean for a long time now. So
Mhm.
there's a bit of a purity there, I think, as far as thought processes or so what's it like now, writing music, playing music?
Yeah, so it's been about 10 years since I've been clean, not drinking. It's definitely changed the way I write songs. It's changed the way I consume music, and it's changed the way I write music. I mean, my brain just feels a lot more opened up now. The last 10 years, it's like I focused on just improving the 20 years that I lost, that I just put no effort into music whatsoever. So I finally got to focus on actually bettering myself. The musical process now is much more clear to me of what I'm doing and where I want to take songs. My brain has gotten to the point where it just wants more. It's almost like being a little kid, like just learning how to do something over and over again. Once you start learning something, when you can see some accomplishments, some small accomplishments, some steps being made, you get excited and you're like, oh, well, where's this going? Where's this going? My songwriting journey, basically, I feel it started like 10 years ago when I quit drinking. That is when I actually started putting actual effort into songwriting, which sounds crazy. I mean, how can you be in bands for 25 years and like not have put any effort into your songwriting? I know that's crazy, but it's true. It is absolutely true. So now it's just like every day I pick up a guitar, I'm excited again, like I really hadn't been since I was a teenager. What I love the most, strangely, is playing. Now, when I play in front of people, I do it as clear-headed as possible. And what 15 years ago was so goddamn terrifying to me, now it's what I love. Standing on stage, totally sober, totally clear-headed, knowing exactly what I'm going to do, seeing these people out here that are there for whatever reason, if their buddy drug them, if they're fans. It's like my favorite thing to do now. And it's a joy. I love it.
She speaks without believing. We kiss with bleeding tongues.
That was my conversation with Chad Price of the Chad Price Peace Coalition, chadpricepeacecoalition.com. For more episodes of Screen Therapy, go to screentherapyhq.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. Big news, the Screen Therapy book is available now. Screen Therapy, A Punk Journey Through Mental Health, tells my story and the stories of others who use punk as a catalyst for mental health. Like this podcast, it links the community-minded punk scene with the mental wellness of the punks who belong to it. To order the book, go to screentherapyhq.com. For merch, check out screamtherapy.threadless.com. Okay, enough promoting. It's time for some thanking. Thank you for listening to Screen Therapy. Doing this podcast and talking to folks about punk rock and mental health has been a crucial part of my own mental stability, and it means so much to me that you're out there listening. Screen Therapy is created in the Cathet region of coastal British Columbia, Canada, on the traditional territory of the Tla'amin Nation. Contact me at screentherapyhq.com or email me at screentherapypodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Let's talk about punk rock and mental health. Until next time, take care and be well.